Welcome back to the X Corner. I'm still here adding a little mutation to the SuperHeroCrew. I'll be covering the X comics for the week of April 17th, 2019. This week we have 4 comics. Age of XMan Next Gen number 3 of 5, Age of XMen The Amazing Nightcrawler number 3 of 5, Major X number 2, and Uncanny XMen number 16. Spoilers, of course. We'll start with Age of XMan Next Gen number 3, written by Ed Brisson, art by Marcus Toe. At the Summers Institute, the Next Gen kids are having issues. Armor is confused and a little lost, Glob is on her side, and Noel wants Rockslide to find out about the Life Seed, and he's having no luck, and Pixie is worried about all of them. Armor and Glob confront Noel, but are interrupted by Headmaster Angel. Rockslide goes to his teacher Madison Jeffries to ask about why nothing is written about the Life Seed after its use. Jeffries produces a book that explains it all, even though Rockslide knows that book didn't exist before now. Armor and Pixie learn about Unveil, the drug that lets people resist the mind wipes, and it's made out to be like heroin. Pixie immediately thinks Armor is on it. Rockslide goes to Glob to talk about the book that never existed, and Glob tries to convince him the world isn't real, which freaks Rockslide out, understandably. Pixie finds Armor with a Noel, whom she was trying to get answers about the Resistance from. Pixie now thinks they're having an affair, and are on drugs. She tries to arrest Noel, and Armor knocks her out. Noel runs but gives Armor his contact in the Resistance. Noel has been busy though, as he's graffitied the school bulletin board saying you are being lied to. This series is one of the better ones, and I like how the tension is there with no one trusting anyone. It's also fun to see all the various kids finding out that reality isn't what it seems, but from different angles. None except maybe Glob realize the extent of the lies though. All the kids feel real and well written, but that's expected from Brisson, and the art is solid. 7.5 out of 10. Then there's Age of X-Men The Amazing Nightcrawler number 3, written by Shannon McGuire, with art by Juan Frigeri. As we left off, Mystique was confronting Nightcrawler. We soon find out he doesn't know who she is, but she seems to remember it. She leaves a file and tries to escape, and Nightcrawler keeps cornering her until she finally disappears. The file contains info on a child that looks just like Nightcrawler, which shouldn't be. He brings the info to Megan, who immediately tells him to forget the child. She's afraid Kurt won't be able to help himself from loving the child, and that would be dangerous. She eventually realizes he won't stop and joins him to find the little girl. They go into the Cuckoos and try to lie to her as to why they want to find this kid. She helps them, but her sister confronts the lovers. The Cuckoos know about them and are willing to keep their secret and help. They arrange for a publicity stop at a mall near where the kid is and invite the orphanage out. Before they can find the kid though, Mastermind and her stable show up. The mall seems to have double booked them. Soon after some taunting, a fight breaks out. This series is strange, but at least now we have an end goal. Find Nightcrawler's daughter. The events seem to rely heavily on Deus Ex Machina and coincidence, but I'm willing to go with it. I do hope it is all a ploy by Mastermind, otherwise it really doesn't make much sense. It wasn't bad, but there were a lot of talking scenes with way too much useless dialogue. A sign of a novel writer writing comics, to be sure. 6 out of 10. Then there's Major X number 2, written by Rob Liefeld, art by Brent Peebles. So we're back in the ridiculous world of Major X. He tells his backstory to get us caught up to the present. The world where he comes from, the mutants were being wiped out. The Essential created a portal to a pocket dimension where mutants could have a utopia. Some Atlanteans came along too. After a while, the world started to deteriorate as the Essential got weaker. The Atlanteans thought they were being treated unfairly, even though the whole place was being torn up. Major X convinces Cable to go on a MacGuffin hunt, and as they go to one of Cable's bases, they are jumped by some Atlantean supervillains. They beat them, but the Atlanteans blew up the base, but we know Cable body slided out, so it wasn't much of a cliffhanger. This comic was 22 pages of nothing. I didn't understand why Cable and Major X had to go off on their own, when Not Beast and Wolverine were right there too. I don't know why the Atlanteans want to kill them, nor how they escaped the pocket dimension, if they're the same ones. It really was a bunch of nothing, and while the interior art wasn't horrible, don't get me started on the cover. Could a working artist really be so bad at drawing a series of characters? The anatomy is so wrong, the stances are stiff, and the layout is boring as hell. Why is Major X standing like that? And why is Wolverine's head slightly off his neck? Cable looks okay, but maybe that's because all we see of him is his head and a big gun. It really is mind-boggling how Liefeld continues to get work. I guess a name in the legacy is how he does it, but man, Marvel must be pretty desperate. This was bad. Was it worse than the first issue? No, I think it was equally bad. 3 out of 10. Lastly, we have Uncanny X-Men number 16, written by Matthew Rosenberg, art by Salvador Larroca. Uncanny begins with Cyclops handing over some of his captives to the US government, and Captain America. He kept Hope and Dark Beast for himself, though. Cap wonders why Scott is so untrusting of the government, and I'm surprised Scott didn't unload on him. ONE did imprison his brother and many other mutants illegally, and implant bombs in them, but I guess Cap is okay with that. Havoc is a little miffed that Scott is doing things that seem pretty bad, and he's listening to Wolverine for advice. But Cyclops brings up a good point. Havoc always has his brother's back, whereas Logan hates him, so we'll call him on his BS. This does make Scott realize that maybe he shouldn't be leading. He says that most of the team has led the X-Men at some point, so why should he be in charge? The group votes not to have a leader at all, and to work as a committee, which really doesn't work. Meanwhile, the Juggernaut is attacking some poor soldiers. He's backed up by Magneto and the Brotherhood of Evil Mutants. The X-Men show up to stop them, and they fight, as happens. We flash back to Wolfsbane, who quit the team to try and lead a normal life. Back to the action, Megs gets his helmet knocked off via some friendly fire, and Karma finds out he isn't the real Magneto. It's Megs' clone, Joseph. Don't ask. He's trying to make the world fear mutants again to make them stop persecuting them. Scott rightly points out that won't help, but Joseph isn't having any of it. Karma has a heartfelt speech about fighting to save mutants, but Joseph says he isn't convinced. She says she wasn't convincing him. Juggernaut smashes Joseph, and he says he wants to rejoin the team. He's holding up Joseph, waiting to see if the X-Men will accept him, when Joseph's head gets cut off. It's Kwananen, who is the body that Psylocke used to have when she was Asian. Really, don't ask. She was restored when Psylocke got her original body back. It seems she killed Joseph to protect mutants since he would have caused the world governments to wipe them off the earth. Everyone is standing around confused when Danny drops to the ground in agony. Her Valkyrie, don't ask, ability to sense that death has hit her hard as a friend has died. Or maybe will die. It sometimes acts as premonition. It's Wolfsbane who's dead, or maybe going to die. Once again, this was a jam-packed issue. Cap looks like a real idiot in this comic. I mean, he should be called Captain Oblivious. I find it funny that Cyclops was so willing to accept Hope onto the team, even if they voted, since she just literally the day before shot his eye out. It was funny when Juggernaut was holding up Joseph, as he was decapitated, and a little dialogue bubble from Juggernaut was, "I didn't know you were going to kill him." He was taken aback, but not too shocked, and it made me laugh. So this team gets weirder and weirder, with Hope, who just shot Cyclops in his frickin' eye, and Kwananen, who just decapitated a guy in front of everyone, joining. It makes Juggernaut joining look like a sane choice. This was wild and fast and maybe a little meandering, but it was still fun. The art is really good. Some people seem not to like it, which I cannot understand. 8 out of 10. Not a bad week, all pretty good, except Major X, of course, but that's so bad that's like watching a car crash. I must be a masochist to keep reading it. It hasn't actually pissed me off yet, though, so it stays in the rotation. Next week we get the X-Men entering the War of the Realms, so I'm sure I'll hate that. Can I keep reading it for a whole 3-issue mini? Tune in to find out.